When the studio lights first touched the little boy's face, nobody in the room understood what they were about to witness. They didn't know that the child standing quietly at center stage had once lived in a world without sound, without words, without even the smallest mama or hi. They had no idea that the boy in the neatly pressed blue shirt had once been written off by medical charts and quiet, careful voices that tried to soften a truth his parents refused to accept. But they were seconds away from hearing something that would change everything they thought they knew about possibility, about hope, and about the hidden brilliance inside a quiet mind. The boy's name was Aiden, and before he turned 5 years old, he had never spoken a single word. It was late summer in Los Angeles, warm sunlight, filtering through the studio windows of a family show known for spotlighting children with unusual gifts. Camera crews were adjusting their equipment, an audience of families and tourists filed into their seats, and the host, famous for his sharp humor and gentle heart, waited backstage reviewing the list of young guests. Aiden was the last name on the roster. The note beside it simply read, "Memory Talent." Nothing about that note hinted at what kind of memory the boy actually had, or the journey it took for him to reach this stage. Nothing about it mentioned the long nights his mother spent whispering stories to a child who never looked at her, never answered her, never even blinked to show that he heard. Nothing mentioned the mornings his father left the house with a silent ache, wondering if he would ever hear his son call him Dad. Aiden's mother, Claire, sat in the front row, her hands clasped together, so tightly her fingers had turned pale. His father, Daniel, sat beside her, knees bouncing, eyes fixed on the curtain where their son would soon walk out. They had lived through years of uncertainty, years where every birthday felt bittersweet, every milestone missed felt like a quiet loss. Now suddenly, their child was about to speak in front of an audience of 200 people, and eventually millions more, and the weight of that was almost too much to take in. Aiden had been a quiet baby, not the peaceful kind of quiet that lets new parents rest, but the kind that feels wrong. He didn't follow movement with his eyes, didn't smile back, didn't make the soft noises most babies do. At 18 months, the doctors started using words that shattered the room: severe developmental delay, nonverbal autism, low expectation for speech. At 2 years old, specialists told Claire and Daniel to prepare themselves gently but firmly. Some children never speak, one of them said, the sentence hanging in the air like a slow-falling weight. Claire refused to let silence win. Every day she filled the house with her voice. She read books to him until her throat hurt. She narrated her day like a podcast meant for one listener. Now mommy is folding clothes. Here's your blue shirt. The sky looks cloudy today. She talked even when he turned away, even when he didn't respond, even when people told her she needed to accept reality. She believed somewhere, deep inside, her son was listening. Daniel struggled differently. He loved his son fiercely, but silence can feel like a wall between hearts. He tried toys, games, songs, nothing connected, until one afternoon while cleaning the attic, he found a dusty box of old encyclopedias and history books. Out of curiosity, he set one beside Aiden during playtime. Something happened. Not the bright toy beside him, not the colorful rug he sat on. The book specifically, a picture of ancient ruins. His eyes lingered on it longer than he had ever focused on anything. Daniel turned the page. Another picture, a tiny doorway had opened. From that day on, Daniel read history to him. Not children's stories, not simple words, actual history. Dates, names, wars, inventions, maps. He didn't know if Aiden understood any of it. He just knew that when he read those facts, the boy's eyes softened, sharpened, focused. The silent child seemed to be absorbing something. They didn't know what, but something was getting through.
3 years passed like that. Therapists came and went. Tests were repeated. Notes were added to his file. Aiden remained silent until the night everything changed. It was March, just after Aiden's 5th birthday. The family sat at the dinner table, the soft hum of the fridge filling the room. Aiden stared at his placemata world map with bright colors and tiny labels. Claire spoke as she always did, recounting her day. Daniel pushed food around his plate, exhausted from another appointment where specialists insisted there was no significant progress. And then Aiden spoke. The Roman Empire officially ended in 476 AD when the last emperor was deposed. The sentence came out of him clearly flat, slightly monotone but perfectly formed. The room froze. Claire's fork clattered against her plate. Daniel stared at his son, mouth open, heart pounding. The boy who had never spoken a word had just recited a historical fact most adults would struggle to remember. And he wasn't done. Before that, the empire had been divided into East and West. The eastern half became the Byzantine Empire. He spoke without looking up, as if he were reading from an invisible book only he could see. Claire burst into tears. Daniel dropped to his knees beside the chair, completely undone. Their son had not only found his voice, he had been collecting information for years without anyone knowing. That night changed everything. Evaluations were done, specialists brought in. The conclusion was astonishing. Aiden had hyperlexia coupled with a near-perfect memory. While he couldn't express himself verbally for the first 5 years of his life, his brain had still absorbed everything he heard, everything he saw, everything his parents had spoken over him. The facts his father read aloud. The documentaries that played softly in the background. The images from history books he stared at for hours. His mind had stored all of it. By age 8, Aiden had memorized thousands of facts. He could recite every U.S. president, every major battle in world history, the atomic numbers of dozens of elements, the dates of ancient civilizations, and the capitals of nearly every country on Earth. Yet he was still autistic. He still avoided eye contact, still preferred routines, still needed certain fabrics to feel comfortable. His intelligence didn't erase his challenges. It coexisted with them. A teacher, amazed by his mind, submitted a video of Aiden answering rapid-fire questions to the show, and that's how he ended up standing backstage, hands fidgeting with the hem of his shirt, ready to step into a world far louder and brighter than he preferred. The host stepped forward, smiling warmly as the audience applauded. "Our next guest," he announced, "is 8 years old, from Ohio, and I'm told his memory is unbelievable. Please welcome Aiden." Aiden walked onto the stage, stiff but steady, eyes focused on a fixed point in front of him. He stopped exactly where he had practiced. The host knelt to meet him at eye level. "Hey buddy, how are you feeling today?" "I am functioning adequately," Aiden replied in a clear, matter-of-fact tone. The audience chuckled softly. The host grinned. "I hear you've got an amazing memory." "Yes," Aiden said simply. "I have approximately 10,214 facts memorized. That's extremely precise." The host said, "I counted them." The audience laughed again. Charmed, the host began asking questions. The test was simple, but what happened wasn't. Who discovered oxygen? Joseph Priestley in 1774. Aiden answered instantly. What year did the Berlin Wall fall? 1989. Specifically November 9th. What's the capital of Laos? By ancient population approximately 948,000. Who invented the printing press? Johannes Gutenberg, around 1440. Every question was met with immediate, detailed accuracy. The audience fell silent, watching something that felt almost unreal. The host asked harder questions, obscure facts even historians sometimes forget. Aiden answered all of them, and then the host paused, sensing the weight of the moment. "Aiden," he said gently, "how do you remember all of this?" "Because I don't forget," Aiden said. "When I hear something, it stays. My brain puts everything in order." "Have you always been able to do this?" Aiden hesitated, glancing toward the front row. "I couldn't talk until I was 5, he said, "but I remembered anyway." Gasps rippled through the studio. The host slowly stood and turned to the audience. "Did you hear what this young man just said? 5 years, no words?" Everyone thought he didn't understand, but he was listening the whole time. He invited Aiden's mother onto the stage. She walked slowly, tears already forming, and wrapped her arms around her son. He allowed the hug just a brief moment, but it meant the world to her. The host spoke softly to her. "Tell us what that was like." Claire's voice shook. "It was hard. Every day I wondered if he heard me. I read to him, talked to him, even when people told me it didn't matter. I didn't know he was memorizing everything." She laughed through tears. "I didn't know he was in there." Her words hit the room like a wave. People cried quietly. Even the host blinked away tears. Aiden looked at her and said, "I heard you every day, Mom." It was the first time he had ever said those words out loud. Claire covered her mouth and sobbed. The host knelt again. "Aiden, what do you want people to understand about kids like you?" Aiden considered this for a moment. "Different is not broken," he said. "Different is just different." The room erupted with emotion. His simple sentence said more than any speech could. The episode went viral within days. Messages poured in from parents of autistic children around the world. Aiden became a symbol of hope, not because he could recite thousands of facts, but because he proved that silence doesn't mean absence. It doesn't mean nothing is happening inside. Sometimes the quietest minds grow the brightest ideas. 2 years later, Aiden was taking college-level history courses online. He still loved routine, still preferred quiet spaces, still found comfort in structure. But now he had a voice, and he used it. His mother kept a framed photo from that unforgettable day. Aiden, standing under bright studio lights, speaking into the microphone for the first time, finally showing the world what had been locked inside him for so long. Every night before bed, Claire still whispers a few lines from the stories she once told to a silent toddler. And every night, Aiden answers now, sometimes with a fact, sometimes with a simple, "Good night, Mom." She never takes that for granted. Aiden's story lives as a reminder. Never assume silence means nothing is happening. Never assume different means less. And never give up on the child who seems hard to reach. They may be listening more deeply than anyone realizes. And when they finally speak, however they speak, they may change the world. If this story touched your heart, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who needs a reminder that different is not broken. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories to light. Stories that show the extraordinary potential inside every child. And don't forget to leave a comment below sharing the brilliance you've witnessed in your own life. You'd never know who your story might inspire next.